Back here, first things first, former head coach Eric Mangini
What
is
up,
here.
buddy?
Good to have you, Coach.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Fantastic.
Let's talk some football. Less than a week away from Super Bowl 53. Tom Brady making his 9th trip to the Super Bowl, 3rd straight at age 41. Jared Goff, first trip at age 24. This is Brady's 19th season in the NFL. For Goff, his 3rd. To say there's an age gap there would be like saying Mangini might watch the Super Bowl if he's home and all. Brady was asked if he had any advice for Goff. Take a listen.
What sort of advice would you give this guy as he gets ready to take on the big bad Patriots?
I'm not giving him any advice. Crazy. They got a great team. I got to go against that guy all night, so that's what I'm concerned about. And I know how great of a player he is. They got a great defense, best D-line in the league, a couple of the best interceptors probably ever played in this game. So I got my work cut out for me.
All right, Coach, how much of the Super Bowl is going to come down to how Jared Goff does actually play?
It's going to be a huge part of the Super Bowl, and for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons, as a young quarterback, he's got to come out early and decipher how the Patriots are playing against him. And we saw that problem that Patrick Mahomes had last week or a couple weeks ago where he couldn't figure it out early enough. Yep. He got it figured out later, and you saw how effective he was. But that's the first thing. And then another big part of this offense is coming to the line of scrimmage, and there's check with me plays. So it's either we're going to stay in the play that we have called, or we're going to check to the second play based off the look. So deciphering what's happening and confirming either to stay in a good play or to get out of that play and move into something else because it's a better look is another huge thing. And then will he make a mistake? The amount of pressure that this game has, how well does he deal with that? Obviously, Tom has a huge advantage in that arena, but how well does he deal with that is the third thing. And I'd say the last thing is there were some really big plays that he made at the end of the New Orleans game. I thought he made some fantastic. Right. The one where he made where he's rolling out to his right and hit the tight end down the field, and then 2 different plays with pressure right in his face that he completed. Difference in the game. So all those things are factors moving to this one.
I think it should be instructive for people to understand that the Patriots this decade, they've only lost 6 playoff games. All 6 of those playoff games, the opposing quarterback has played well, and in 5 of the 6 has played really well. The only one that I would say wasn't really well was Peyton Manning's last game against Tom Brady, the 2018 AFC Championship game. But those quarterbacks combined 14 touchdowns to 1 interception, a quarterback rating north of 105. Like, you haven't beaten the Patriots with a poor quarterback performance in the playoffs since all the way back in 2009 when Joe Flacco had a terrible game, but the Ravens beat him up 33-14. Like early in Tom Brady's career, Jake Plummer beat him without playing very well. Eli in that first Super Bowl against the undefeated Pats, he played okay but didn't play great. Like this decade, you've needed your quarterback to be a difference maker, whether it was Flacco in the AFC Championship game in 2012, Nick Foles obviously last year played the best game of his life. I don't think the Rams, even though I really respect their defense, and I think Todd Gurley is the best running back in football, I don't think they can win the game with Jared Goff just being a caretaker. I think Jared Goff is going to have to go out there and make some plays, and I, like you, Coach, was so impressed with the drive at the end of regulation. We have forgotten it because it says, oh, the Saints got screwed, the Saints got screwed. Jared Goff in the Superdome, down 3, inside of 2 minutes, trip to the Super Bowl on the line, drove his team down to the 31-yard line to set up that 48-yard field goal to put the game into overtime. I thought that was big-time stuff from a play. That was the biggest spot of his career, and he came through.
Why is it even in the conversation that Jared Goff and caretaker are in the same sentence, or game manager? Why does he sometimes get that reputation?
Well, for one, it's how he started his career, and it's how when the Rams aren't playing well, you look at the script afterwards, and typically Jared Goff, those aren't his best games. I think that there's a certain people that watch the game either like Jared Goff or you don't like him, but they have all these preconceived what he's going to be like as an NFL quarterback. I think he's going to be an elite player for a long time because they built that team the right way. They got explosive players on the defense. They got a great young head coach that's going to be tied to that guy, and ever since he's got there, all they have done is win games. So I think that people, they don't allow players to develop anymore, and they definitely don't allow quarterbacks to develop. So we want a guy to be seasoned. We want a guy to make veteran decisions. And we see veterans all the time make mistakes, but younger players were just more critical, and we're so quick to who's going to be a superstar and who's a franchise quarterback and who's not a franchise quarterback. There's a thing called process. There's a thing called player development, and Jared Goff is right in the middle of being one of the elite passers that we have in the game. He's got a great arm. He makes great decisions. He can read coverages. He had one of those run-pass options in the New Orleans game. After reading McVay's clips after the game, he said that audible of to Brandon Cooks down the sideline was one of the better throws and decisions Jared Goff's made in a very young career. But Bill Belichick, I think, is 17-0 against quarterbacks under the age of 25. So Jared Goff at 24, he is getting ready to be tested. But for me, I think he's going to be an elite quarterback in this league, and he has a great system to be able to help him develop under.
To your point, Belichick teams have won 18 games in a row against quarterbacks under the age of 25, and Jared Goff's obviously in that category.
Yeah, and Chris, you're right on about people who want to classify quarterbacks as Hall of Famers instantly, like the second they make a good play. But with Jared Goff, I thought the other interesting thing from last game was New Orleans was going to heat him up. So their principle early was, if we can hit him early and get him off his game, then we've got a real chance to disrupt him throughout the course of the game. And he made a mistake early, but he came back, and the poise that he showed under pressure in terms of blitzes, not the pressure of the moment, I thought was very impressive. Now, it's not going to be like that necessarily in New England. It's going to be assessing how they move the pieces apart and what subtleties they're attacking in your game.
Coach Mangini will tell you, when you get to the Super Bowl II, you know the characteristics of the team. So if you try to protect the quarterback in this game, the players feel it, and they start to press. Defense feels like, forget about being patient. I need to make a big play. Wide receivers like, maybe I need to break my route off into a deep route to make a big play. So the quarterback stabilizing the team is important. And what Jared Goff did in struggling opening in last week's game, NFC Championship, and coming out of that sent a huge message to the team.
And your point of him dealing with the pressure of a blitz, pressure of human beings out of a moment, that's what I was so impressed with, because Jared Goff this year, every quarterback is worse under pressure than not under pressure. But we have a ranking 1 through 32 of what their quarterback rating is when pressured. Jared Goff was 28th in the league in that category. That was his biggest weakness of his game, is if you can get to him, he can't deal with the situation. In that NFC Championship game, he did in the biggest spots. He's going to have to in the Super Bowl.
And the other thing that is the pressure of the moment too. And we talk about this with guys who sign big free agent contracts or guys who are in games like this. You don't need to be different than who you are and what brought you here. Sometimes people think, I've got to be better, and in an attempt to do that, it ends up being worse. Just be who you are.
It's the advice I gave you when you joined on here, and it's been really working out for you. So
you're right, the pressure of that moment.
You be you, Coach. You be you.
Thanks.
Coach, stick around. Coming up, did the Rams shoot themselves in the foot at Media Day? That's next on First Things First.
It's so funny because it's the exact opposite Chris and I keep giving Jenna. Don't be you. You got to try to be someone different.